Hi everyone, it's Dana here back with Gemstone Stitches. That's the name of my channel. I am here to give you guys an update on how Stitchmaynia went for me. Oh my goodness. I am glad that I did it and participated, and I'm also glad that it's over with. It was pretty intense. The last probably 5 days I was about ready to be done. But I did want to follow through with it, and I was enjoying it once I got the project started, but definitely was ready to be able to be done with my day without starting a new project. I guess first I'll just update you with some of the changes I made for myself for Stitchmaynia. May was mania without stitching involved for me. I had visited my family in Texas, in Flower Mound, Texas. That's in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Well, actually, they live in Denton, Texas now, but I grew up in Flower Mound, Texas. And I was down there for 2 whole weeks, beginning around Easter time, and then I arrived back home where I live in Lincoln, Nebraska, the last day of April. So Stitchmaynia would start the very next day. So I was a little bit overwhelmed because I was coming back, from being away from the house for a couple weeks and going back to work after being gone. And we also had in-laws coming on starting May 5th. So I was also getting ready and preparing for company. They were staying the 5th through the 9th. And but I thought, I can do this, I'll power through, and I did start project 1 and 2, but after project 2, I decided, okay, let's switch this up. Let's do Stitchmaynia May 16th through the 30th instead, because the last half of May was way less busy than the first half of May, because I had also the following weekend on May 12th was our 5-year wedding anniversary, so we had plans for that. And then the next day we had plans with friends, and then that Sunday was Mother's Day. So it was just very busy. It was probably one of the busiest times of the year for me, in fact. So it worked out really well to go ahead and do Stitchmaynia for the last half of May for me. And this is my first Stitchmaynia to participate in, so I went into it wanting to follow the original guidelines of having 15 new starts the first 15 days of May, but I ended up changing that to almost the last 15 days of May. So let's get into it. Let me show you what I've accomplished. My first project was actually an earring kit that I got for free out of Cross Stitcher magazine issue 314. So this magazine came in a bag, and inside the bag was this envelope, and that's the whole reason I bought the magazine, because I thought, yeah, I would really love to make those earrings for my stepmother-in-law. And so here is the stitching. I did end up finishing all the stitching portion of it because I started it on May 1st, and then I ended up working on it again on May 16th. So I was able to finish all the stitching. And there's all sorts of earrings that you could have chosen to do. And you see I chose this one, and I went ahead and changed the colors up a little bit. But these are the ones I thought that were the cutest and might be the easiest to stitch up. And I'm actually thinking about putting some little tiny seed beads on the pink V or the pink chevron, or just somehow putting them on the bottom. I think that would just add a little bit of sparkle and maybe give the earrings a little bit more weight so that they'll hang nicely. But they're stitched on a plastic Aida or a plastic canvas, and it came with the threads and the needles. So what I need to do at this point, besides putting the beads on, if I decide to do that, is cut them out and then put the little hooks on the top. It came with the hardware. And I plan to give those to my stepmother-in-law for her birthday, which isn't till November, but I'm going to go ahead and try to finish these as soon as I can, just so that I can put them away and they'll be ready for when I want to mail them out to her. So the next project that I worked on is called Ornamental Joy by Country Cottage Needleworks. And this is what the picture looks like. And I worked on this on May 2nd. And when I was taking it off the hoop, I realized I had made a huge mistake. And that mistake was I was stitching, the fabric was facing portrait style with the long edges on the sides. But I was supposed to have the fabric facing landscape style with the top and bottom having the long edges. So I kind of laughed at myself in a way because, you know, why wouldn't I have made that mistake? But I was also a little irritated too because, you know, I spent some time on it and I knew the next time I pulled it out I would just have to undo everything I did. So I worked on that May 2nd, and then I also went ahead and pulled this out on May 17th, and I went ahead and frogged what I had and started over again. So here's the progress that I made. So that is the O in Joy. And you can kind of, it was more over here where I had to frog, but you can't really tell. That's how far I got with that one. Okay, my next project is Spirit of Ireland by Long Dog Samplers. And again, with this project, I started out having a little bit of a issue. I got the fabric out and situated it nicely on the hoop and knew exactly where I wanted to start it, so I grabbed the thread that I bought to start pulling out the piece. And I bought the bigger packages of DMC, you know, that come kind of weaved together and they hang up on the rack rather than being in the bins. I thought, oh well, let me just get bigger packages of DMC, that way, you know, I'm not running out as fast from each pack. I thought I was making a smart move there. But when I went to I cut a piece of thread off, and then I wanted to pull, you know, one strand out. I realized it doesn't come in the 6 strands, and you can't just pull one strand out of that type of thread. So I was really bummed because I thought, well, I can't start this now. I don't have the color I need. And then I remembered that I have a bunch of DMC thread for my Heaven and Earth design project. So I ran upstairs and looked at my stash, and I did end up having some 550. That's the color I needed for that project. So that was really, really lucky. I was still able to go ahead and start. And I'm stitching oh, I forgot to tell you, for my Country Cottage Needlework Joy, that's on 28 count lamb's wool 2/2. And I'm doing Spirit of Ireland Long Dog Sampler 2/2 on 32 count Belfast linen. And this is how far I got on that. So it's just that first corner of the border, which that's what the project looks like finished. But I really, really like those colors together. I think it's going to be very nice finished, and it will go in the master bedroom when it's all through. And then the next project was my Heaven and Earth design project, and this was a restart. I had already done almost 2 pages of this project, and I went ahead and decided to start over on it. It's Peacock Days by Josephine Wall, and there it is. It's beautiful. And I went ahead and started it on 28 count Lugana, stitched 1 over 1. And let me just pull, have it on my quantum frame here. So that's how far I've gotten. I managed to do 2 full blocks in one evening. It was a Friday evening, and I stayed up kind of late doing that. And I tried a couple new things. Well, first of all, I tried the quantum frame out, which I really like. I do want to get a stand, a lap stand, because I stitch on the couch, and I find that this frame is a little bit too long, you know, to manage when I'm flipping it over and trying to hold on to it. So I do want to get a lap stand. So if anyone has any suggestions for a lap stand, that either this would just sit on some legs that stick out, you just set it on the legs of the stand, or even better if it can attach to something and then it kind of flips over from back to front really easily. I have looked a little bit, but I never know what I should get, because I'm not sure if I'm going to like it, and I don't want to spend, you know, $200 on something that's not going to end up working out for me. So if you guys have any suggestions, I'd love to hear them, because I am shopping for a lap stand, and that's going to make this project a lot easier for me to work on. I tried 2 new things with this project that I learned over the last 6 months since I've gotten back into the social media part of cross stitching. First off would be, I tied a knot at the end of my thread, and then I put the needle through the front of the fabric, and then I traveled about 30 to 40 stitches over, and then brought my needle back up through where the symbol was for that thread color. And that way, that knot that's on the front of the fabric anchors the thread. It's where it needs to stay. It's not going to pull through. And then, since there's that traveling thread on the back for 30 to 40 stitches, when you're stitching all the blocks, you stitch over that thread, and eventually you can cut the knot off, and then everything's anchored pretty neatly back there. I think I really like that method, but it's really a hot mess the way I was tying the knot, so I need to kind of look up maybe a better way. But at the end of the day, you're cutting those knots off and you're not going to see them, so maybe it doesn't matter that much. And the other thing that I did was parking. And so I don't really know why I did 2 blocks side by side rather than one whole column, you know, travel down. I went to the side. But anyway, that's what I did. And so I did park to where I'm going to keep traveling down until I get to the end of the page. And I always do, I start my stitches top left to bottom right, top right to bottom left. Unless for some reason I need to start in the bottom right and go up to the top left. But for parking purposes, I always parked on the top left, so I know what block I'm in. And the way that I showed that on my pattern, or on my pattern, is those red dots. Wherever there's a red dot, that means there's a parked thread. So you can see I have one over there because there was none of that symbol in this area. So I parked it down over there. But yeah. So when I come back to the project, I'll start with all the parked threads and then start pulling out the new colors I need to. And so far I like it. So far I like it a lot. But I think the true test is probably when you bring it back out and start working with those threads. That's when you really are gonna know if you like parking or not. But so far so good, I like it. The next project that I pulled out is called Rainbow Hot Air Balloon, and it is by Rachel James. She has an Etsy shop called Fuzzy Fox Designs, and this is the I am going to finish it like that on a hoop. It's just a little tiny one. It's less than 3 inches by less than 3 inches. So that's going to stitch up really quickly. So here's what I've done. I actually did part of this yellow and this orange after Stitchmaynia was over, because I do want to try to finish this up. This is going to be another gift, and so the things that I'm giving away I'm trying to focus on more so that I can have them ready. But it's going to be a Christmas present, so there's not a huge rush on that. I started this using 2/1, but quickly realized it was too bulky. I felt like the threads were puffing up and sticking out funny. Not that they weren't laying on on the fabric nicely, it was just too puffy. It's 18 count Aida is what this is stitched on. So I went ahead and undid the whole thread of yellow that I started and began the project again with 1/1. I'm also going to stitch the words Dream in Color on there because it's for my stepmother-in-law, my father-in-law. They sign all their cards and they have a craft station or a little shop they set up for fairs and farmers markets and things like that, and it's called Dream in Color. So I'm going to stitch it. Dream in will probably be in navy blue, and then the word color will be all different colors. I think they're going to love that. I'm really excited to give that to them. They always make us really nice gifts, so I think that I'm going to have a lot of fun giving that to them when it's time. And then the next 4 projects are all by the drawn thread, and they're the summer garden, winter garden, autumn garden, and spring garden. And I just love these projects. They're this is the first one that I started, summer garden. So they all have this lovely little house in the middle with the different flowers for that season, and you stitch the names of the flowers along the bottom there. So that's how I started each one. I started in the bottom left, and then I just was going with the words first, and then I was going to start doing the flowers. And yeah, I didn't get very far on any one of these because it was the days that I go to work, and yeah, I just didn't have a lot of energy to devote to stitching. And I also kind of want to start over on all of these because it asks you to do 1 thread, and I kind of want to do 2 threads because I feel like it's a little bit too flimsy looking, or it's not bold enough for me. So I'm thinking I am going to just go ahead and pull this out and do 2 threads for the words. But for the summer garden, it's 32 count Belfast flax is what that's stitched on. And then I love my little Anna Green Gables needle minder. I'm a big fan of Anna Green Gables. I've actually even been to Prince Edward Island because my in-laws, my mother-in-law, she's from Canada, and so we were up there visiting my husband's side of the family, and we're able to drive a couple hours to see Prince Edward Island, so that was awesome. Okay, and then we have Autumn Garden. This is what that one looks like. Kind of has the Anne of Green Gables house look with the white and green. And yeah, let's just stick with Anne of Green Gables. This says chrysanthemum on it. If anyone knows that movie, the spelling of that word comes up. And see, I just don't like, I want it to look a little more bold. So looking at it in person right here, it doesn't look so bad, but seeing it on the video made it look like it was hard to read. But I'll figure that out when I go ahead and pull those back out. The Autumn Garden is on 32 count vintage sand dune. Then I have the Winter Garden on 32 count Twilight Blue. And this one, I definitely am starting this one over because I want to use a darker thread. I don't know. It kind of shows up good in this video. Maybe I just need to use the 2 threads and it will show up even better. And then lastly, I don't know what this fabric is called. I got these as kind of scraps from my local needlework shop. But it's 32 count whatever it is. And this is the Spring Garden. There. Little yellow house. And that's how much I got done for that little Peter Rabbit. That is such a cute needle minder too. Oh, he's so sweet. So I'm still in love with these projects, but it's kind of hard to think of them because I feel like I'm probably just going to take out what I started and redo it with 2 threads instead of 1. Okay, moving on. My next project was Candy Cane Santa Stocking by Dimensions Gold Collection. Came as a kit, and here is what it looks like. So it's got this little sled with the robin. Well, is that a robin? And then Santa is putting candy canes on the tree and looking out the window. And there's little tiny sequins all over it. This is going to be the stocking that my husband and I share. I already did a stocking for my son, and this one we're going to share. Unless I have the energy and desire to stitch another stocking just for me, my husband and I are going to share one. And this is how far I got. So I did all this gray color, and that is that's Santa's beard. So I got that in. It's just all this beard, gray part of the beard. The next project, it was not very much of a start, but I started it. It's called Home Sweet Home by Stony Creek, and this is what it looks like finished. And I got some of these blue blocks done. That's all I got done. Very little start here. So it is that. I did 1 thread, and once that thread was out, I put it away. It's on 28 count lamb's wool linen, and it is stiff, but it's not a big project, so I don't mind stitching on it. That was the recommended fabric. That's what they told me to get, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I can't find where it says that, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, this is what they recommended it be on, and so that's what I did. The next 2 projects I really enjoyed starting. I was kind of dreading these two projects because they're all specialty stitches. There's not much at all of actual cross stitch in here. And I thought it was going to be a lot harder than it actually turned out to be. So I was really enjoying these. It's the Northern Expressions Needlework, and it's Birthstone Series Opal and Ruby. My birthday's in October, and my husband and son's birthdays are in July. So yeah, that's upside down. Yeah, so here they are, these two. And I'm stitching them on the same fabric. And originally I was going to do July to where, you know, the words were the same way as October. But I quickly realized once I tried to start stitching it on a diagonal that was way too complicated for me, and I didn't feel like using my brain that much. And then October is a start and July is a start. So this is October. And that would be double rows of queen stitches. I can't tell if you can even see that. It's 40 count Alabaster Newcastle, so it's tiny, but those are double rows of queen stitches. So I got like right here done. See that? That's kind of what it looks like. And then July I did that much. Those are also not just plain old cross stitches. It's not focusing. It's so tiny you can't even see. They're kind of like little arrows. Just a bunch of arrows. And so basically they're going to be 5 inches altogether. So this comes to right here, and then there'll be like a 1/2 inch, and then this makes a square right here, and that's where July starts. So right now I'm on the little border of what looks like a snowflake in July. So that's interesting. But I really liked starting those, and I think I'm gonna enjoy changing it up every once in a while from just plain old cross stitches and going for all these different specialty stitches. So my last 2 projects are drawn thread again, and Year of Flowers. This one you can finish off in different ways. You can make it a planner or a pillow, but I'm just going to go ahead and frame it. And that's stitched on 32 count raw natural linen 2/2. And so I got this much of January done. So it's just the border, which is like a running stitch, I think. And then you do the letters, back stitch the letters, and then that's just part of the leaves. That's all I got started there. So yeah, that one's gonna be cute. And I did go ahead, I learned my lesson finally after 4 drawn thread projects to double up the threads. And I do like it better to be doubled up. And then my last project drawn thread is called Book of Days. So that's what it looks like finished. So I might end up using a darker thread than what Monday and Friday are, particularly Monday, just because I feel like you can't see that very well, but I don't know yet. And this is the itty bitty start that I got on that. That would be Monday's little tiny flower right there. So this is a eyelet. Is that what that's called? Yeah, an eyelet. The center of the flower is an eyelet, and then the rest are just regular cross stitches. So the drawn thread projects have specialty stitches in them as well. Now is the first time I've done an eyelet stitch, so that was kind of fun. You can't barely tell though, it's so tiny. So that was Stitchmaynia for me. Wow, so now all I have to do is pull out whatever project I feel like working on and get to stitching. I don't have to start a project, find the center, find where I want to begin on the top left or the bottom left or wherever I'm starting. I can just pick up where I left off, get the color I need, and go for it. So I'll get to accomplish a little bit more each evening because I won't be spending half the time trying to start the project. So I'm excited about that. I think moving forward, my focus pieces are going to be the hot air balloon and finishing up those earrings because I'm giving those away. And then I definitely want to make sure that I'm doing a little bit of my Heaven and Earth Designs project each month because it's such a huge project. I want to make sure I am doing little here and little there. I don't want to put it away for too long because, you know, I might never finish it if I do that. And then I also probably will focus on the stocking because, you know, I want to have it hung up eventually. I don't want it to take me 5 years to get that hung up on the fireplace at Christmas time. So I doubt it will be done this Christmas, but maybe next Christmas it'll be ready to be hung up. And then I think that takes care of 4 things, but those earrings are going to be done in one night. I can finish those. And then the hot air balloon is going to be done pretty quickly. So once I finish those, I'll probably focus on one of the houses from the drawn thread. Since it's summer right now, I might decide to try and either do winter or spring so that I give myself plenty of time. I'd want to do one that I can finish and maybe have it done by the time that next season rolls around. So maybe spring is a good goal to begin with. It gives me 6 months. Well, actually, it's kind of spring now, isn't it? Is it even summer yet? It gives me plenty of time to get it done. So that's probably what I'll do. I don't know. This is uncharted territory. I've always only had one project at a time going. In fact, I need to show you my finish. Let me grab it. So I did finish Home of a Needleworker. I need to wash it and iron it because it's been on a hoop and got plenty wrinkled up, but it is done. I finished right before Stitchmaynia, and I think it's so adorable. So this will be hung up. I'm gonna have it, I have this big front entryway wall, and that's where a lot of these projects are gonna hang up once they're done. All these drawn thread projects, and I want to stitch a bunch of seasonal type projects, and so that way I can take down and hang up according to the season or according to the holiday that's going on. I think that will be a really fun way to decorate the house and keep things changing. So that's about it for me. If you guys have any suggestions on lap stands, particularly for this quantum frame, I'd love to hear that. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate everyone who has commented and subscribed and liked my videos. It's been so much fun. I've been wanting to get back on here and update you guys with Stitchmaynia, and get a video up here again to update everybody. And so finally I'm getting around to that, so I'm excited to share that with you guys, and I am enjoying watching everyone else's videos. You guys have a good rest of your day, and happy stitching!